Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ntokozo Dambuza. I'm a senior lecturer at the Department of Pharmacy, and I'm also the research coordinator there at the department as well. Okay. Trying to move my slides. It's not moving. Okay. I'm going to let you look at the picture that is in front of you. I want you to think about it. Somehow, when you talk to a student who is about to start a postgraduate journey, this is probably the picture that you have. You think, gosh, this man is probably a gorilla. I'm scared of him. Or this woman. That's how we perceive supervisors, as people that don't understand that we are humans. And in all fairness, that person is not your mother, it's not your father, it's not your uncle, it's not your cousin, it's not your auntie, and it's not your BFF. He's a stranger. In some cases, probably your undergraduate lecturer. In some cases, maybe an associate of your former lecturer. I remember when I wanted to do my PhD, I wanted to do it in forensic science. And I contacted a stranger because I Googled which universities here in South Africa that had forensic science. And I found this guy, I communicated with this guy. He was a complete stranger. And in some cases, you'll find out your supervisor and yourself come from different cultures, different backgrounds, different skin color. So there's a lot of conflicts that could come, you know, in the relationship between a supervisor and a student. In my case, throughout my honors all the way to PhD, I didn't have anyone from my culture. All my supervisors were all white people from my honors, my master's, and my PhD. I think one of my co-supervisors was an African, I think a Zambian, but not Xhosa. So there's also cultures there. So there might be a clash there, especially if we don't give each other grace, because things are not going to be the same. Oh, what did I do? Hey, my press is very hard, ne? I don't know what happened. And also the students can be annoying sometimes. That's how we perceived that they can be. Oh gosh, you know, they'll send you go on holiday, you get an email from a student, and what do you do as a supervisor? So there needs to be some form of understanding between you and the supervisor, and also, you know, understanding each other's roles. You know, if my student is working during Christmas, I'm happy. So if they want me to look at something during holiday, I will look at it because I like the fact that he's working. The sooner they finish, the better. So, but other supervisors, there's a switch of everything. So there's no pattern on how to supervise right. So today we're going to talk about, you know, the basic things that can be expected in a supervisor and student relationship. And I believe quite a lot of speakers here today spoke a lot. Even the alumni students that were presenting also mentioned quite a lot about the journey with their supervisors. Miss Afrikaner also spoke about the supervisors and the students' role in this journey of postgraduate studies. So who is the supervisor? So this is the special person, you know. I think most of us here are those special people. It's an individual in your research that is also in your postgraduate journey that is there to oversee your growth, that is there to oversee your development, making sure that from the beginning of your research journey right up until you produce your outputs. At the end, maybe having a manuscript being published in one of the top journals. We're all hoping to publish in the top journals. Their role is to mentor you, support you, guide you in order to achieve high standard of research. You don't want a supervisor that is just casual. You want someone that is serious, that has similar goals as you. If you want to get a cum laude, you want a supervisor that is not going to say to you, you're not gonna get. You want someone who's okay, let's go get the cum laude together. You want, Prof. Pepeta used to say, cum laude. You want to have your name next to that sound. Unfortunately, he's not here to say that to us, but I think he made us want our students to have, because that was a beautiful sound. So you want high quality research, and you want someone who's going to take you there, because you don't know anything, Mos. You coming here to do a postdoc, sorry, not a postdoc, a postgraduate studies. You don't know anything. They know, so you expect them to take you to that level, and is to ensure that the student develops good research skills. Good research skills. You don't want someone, you come in, you blank, you graduate, you still blank. By the time you finish your journey, there must be a lot of skills in that area, research skills in that area. I always listen when we do our proposal review, and you're reading a proposal. The students, what they wrote there, when they enrolled for that degree, they had no idea that I have to write an introduction, a research question, an aims and they had no idea. But that whole journey of writing a proposal taught them new skills about writing, scientific writing. They are either an academic staff member or research associate that are considered to have achieved distinction in a field of research. So these are clever people. Academics, they're number one, they're the first point of contact, the academic. So you go to an academic to supervise you, but sometimes you'll find out there are people maybe in the industry that are experts in the field that can come and also support you with their expertise. Usually have a principal supervisor, a co-supervisor. Sometimes you can even have a co-supervisor that is from another university or someone who's not inside or who's not an internal staff member. And the supervisor's responsibilities, if you have the postgraduate policy, check there, read, I think this is the latest one, I'm not sure, but that reference, I got it from the one that I have at home. So I hope it's not the updated one. If it's updated, just look for responsibilities of a supervisor. What are the responsibilities of a supervisor? First one, educational, administrative, and support. Educational, you want someone who knows the field. You cannot, as a pharmacist, go and get someone from engineering to supervise your PhD journey. They know nothing about the physiology of a body. They know the physiology of a car, but they don't know the physiology of a human body. And they're not going to treat the engineers, they don't work with people. They work with, mechanical stuff. And a human, that's another complicated being. And definitely an engineer will not train you to be a better clinician if you are in the pharmacy field. So you need someone in the expertise. And once you know this person that is supervising understand the subject well, you get more reverence for that person, and you also pay attention to everything that they tell. Imagine being told being criticized by someone who's not in your field. You're not gonna take that criticism seriously. You're gonna be like, you know what, they like to talk. They don't even know anything. You're not gonna take that person seriously. But if you are being guided by someone who is an expert in the field, whether you like it or not, you're gonna take that into account. You're gonna write it down. You're going to accept that criticism, whether you like it, because sometimes it's not nice to be criticized. They guide the student in selecting, planning a suitable and manageable research topic. So when you talk about manageable, they will be able to tell you, because sometimes we get students, they come with ideas, and we look at the ideas and we think, God, it's like walking from Cape Town to Cairo. And after 3 years, you'll still be in Angola. So the supervisor is to make sure that, you don't bite more than you can chew. It's a manageable, the scope of the research, it's manageable for the level, because remember, masters and PhD are not the same. PhD, you bite a big chunk, but for masters, you just bite a little bit. So the supervisor will guide you on how much of the scope you need regarding the topic. They ensure competence in research and in understanding the field. So their goal is to make sure that you become a competent researcher and your understanding in the field grows. So they will monitor your progress. And you can see, as a supervisor, you can see if your student is stagnant. You can see if your student is growing, because the first feedback, you'll give them a little bit of grace. The second feedback, you can even sense that the terminology is changing. This person is becoming more clever now. So you can see when they grow. If you seeing some stagnancy, then it means you must intervene. So that is the responsibility of a supervisor. They guide the students through the drafting of the proposal. They assist with access to resources in preparation of your proposal. We've got Miss Bavuma here, who's from the library. They can help you in how to get research articles. There's something called interlibrary. Do we still do interlibrary loans? Okay, yeah, there's something called interlibrary loans, because some articles, you can't find them online, so you have to purchase them, or they have to be ordered for you. But your supervisor will guide you in how to get those resources. They will help you with the methodology design, what to do next, how to approach, depending on the type of research that you're doing. Instrumental techniques when necessary. I'm in the science field. We work with very sophisticated instruments. And my goal is to make sure that whatever research that I design with my students, we have access to those instruments. I can't just design something and the instrument is only available in the University of Pretoria. And how are we going to get it? So the access to instrument is also, the supervisor will ensure that you get access to that instrument. Data collection process, how to collect the data, they will guide you through that. Analysis and interpretation of data. There's a whole lot of softwares that are being used for data analysis, statistics, and all of that. Sometimes the student don't even know that they need to do statistics. It's the supervisor that will enlighten you on the need for applying statistics in your data. Examination panel appointment, the supervisor will know when you are approaching your readiness, and then they will then appoint an examiners for you, because they will contact people in the same field that will examine your studies or your final write-up. Administrative, they encourage the student to attend sessions such as this, because I can't teach everything to my students. I can't guide them. I don't know everything, but just by listening to everything that was being said here, there's experts that come here and they guide the students on how to do certain things. That's one information I may not have. So the supervisor will always identify sessions that are educational for the students. Prof. Melariri likes to talk about Mendeley, always invites us to attend a referencing software workshop. And I will send my students to that software because I can't teach them that. I don't know how to use Mendeley. I've never used Mendeley. So I can send them to go and to be empowered. So anything that will help students grow. Most importantly, plagiarism. I definitely want my students to attend a session on plagiarism, because that's one thing that will set you back if you're going to plagiarize. I may not be able to guide you how not to plagiarize, but there are experts, writing experts, that will guide you on how to avoid plagiarism, whether it's intentional or not intentional. Setting timelines and milestones to monitor your progress. So that also is to bring accountability to the student, having timelines, checking the progress of the student. Feedback sessions, whether they're weekly or monthly, it depends. The students are not the same. You've got students that are very independent, and you've got students that are very shy. Sometimes you have to push them. So you'll find that the timelines are not the same because you understand the character of your students. And timely response to written work or work submitted by the student. There's nothing frustrating as a student that you submit a draft or something that you want your supervisor to review, and then they come back to you after 2 months. That can really frustrate you, the student. And sometimes our supervisors are much older than us, and you're very scared to say, Prof, how far are you now? You're scared it to be like you're rushing him or you're disrespecting. So sometimes as a supervisor, we have to be mindful of the fact that our students also have a timeline. They have a target in terms of time that they need to meet. So we need to walk the journey together. A very, very quick response is appreciated. Again, access to facilities, library, one of them. And maybe, you know, if, for instance, here in this place, there's lots of fancy equipment here. So if I find that there's something that my student needs that is here, I will help them access that. Access to research material, I think I've mentioned that, the interlibrary loan, funding opportunities. Someone is unmuted. Funding opportunities. You know, there's grants that are out there. We supervisors, we know them. The students, sometimes they don't even know them. So we guide them towards those, and then we assist them in terms of applying for the fund. Because believe me, some grant application or some bursary applications, they are asking your entire life. And you write, and you're thinking, did I register for another module? It seems like it's a lifetime trying to complete an application form. So the supervisors come in handy there to guide the students. Available conferences, it's nice sometimes to travel and go to a conference and present your work. So the supervisor will also bring those to your attention, you know, and guide you in making sure that you've got a nice poster or a nice podium presentation. These will be, last week there was a research week, and there will also be local conferences or international conferences. Deadlines and access to necessary forms. I think, not sure whether it was Ms. Dinane or Ms. African was talking about the deadlines, you know, deadlines for all these forms that need to be submitted, intention to submit, submission of that, proposal, and so on and so on. So the supervisor will inform the student of that. Next slide. And then the next one is support. This is where we come to that picture that I showed you in the beginning. A student is someone that has hopes, dreams, aspiration. It's a complex human being. They are not a stick and the brain. They are people with emotions. So sometimes as supervisors, we have to consider that you know what, this is a human being. Sometimes a student and supervisor relationship, it's like a professional relationship. People used to talk about don't mix business with pleasure. Some supervisors, you find out just as an icebreaker or just to loosen up a little bit, they will have activities. They will bring in a little bit of pleasure in the journey. Maybe go for bowling, maybe go for anything, you know, let's go for ice cream, you know, so that you can see each other outside the walls of the research center where you guys are based. It's always nice to see your supervisor wearing shorts and flip-flops. And you know, you go to the, you know, you all go and go for a braai. You see them when they've had 2 glasses of wine, how they behave, you know, and then you're like, yo, he acts so serious in the office, and yeah, he's like a little bit flexy now, you know. So it's nice to see them when they're not wearing a suit and with glasses sitting here like this, you know. So it's one of those things. On Sunday, there was a big race here in the beachfront. I'm not sure if you saw red people running throughout, and I managed to convince one of my students to come and run with me. The other one was scared, and she said he was going to die. And I'm thinking, you know what? I don't want you to die. I still need you to graduate. So she didn't come. But the other one came, and he beat me. He ran and he finished before me. So sometimes you just need to bring a little bit of fun. Just pray as a student that you've got a fun supervisor, not a supervisor that is like really stiff, you know, with glasses sitting here. You want to see them chasing a ball outside, and you get to see the color of their legs as well. So okay, my thing is playing me here. Sorry about that. So when we talk about support, so this is a person that knows that you are a human. You as a student, you need to make sure your supervisor knows that you are a human. You've got emotions. So they'll come and they'll bring in emotional support. And also tough love, because you have to differentiate between the two, emotional support and tough love, because tough love needs to be there as well, because that's where you get accountability. These work better together when there is emotional support, because you're a human being. This person is superior to you in terms of their role. And if there's one thing that motivates you as a student, is when you know your supervisor is supportive of you, knows when you're sad, knows when you're happy. Encourages the student to feel capable in conducting a research project. I had a fourth-year student emailing me, telling me how scared, because we just given them topics that they're going to do, research topics for their fourth year. And the student tells me that they're scared, you know. And I said to them, how come you're scared? You are in fourth year. How do you think you survived the other 3 years? This is just a drop in the ocean. This research module is a drop in the ocean. If you have managed the 3 years and now you are in your fourth year, this will be a breeze for you. And sometimes you need, because someone who was talking here, they said that you don't even know what's coming. I think it was you when you said that undergraduate, you know, you've got a timetable, you know, when you're writing, you know, and you can see your progress. But a postgraduate student, they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. They don't know in 6 months if they would have reached their targets. So they need someone who's going to remind them that, you know what, well done, you good, you doing good. I like this, you know. It motivates the student, and it makes them want to get out there and work. Pat on the back. You know, if the student brings you good data, you say to them, well done, this is good. This is publishable stuff. I like it when my supervisor says that, because I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to get the paper. When they tell you going to, it makes you want to work even more harder now, because I'm going to have a paper, I'm going to publish a paper, because they told you that you've collected good data and it's publishable stuff. Criticism, constructive criticism. Students, you're going to be criticized. Just rest assured, you're going to be criticized. Be a bigger person and understand that it's not personal. It's part of your growth. You are still a novice in this journey, so you don't know anything. You're going to make a mistake. But the person who's guiding you is going to criticize you. Take that criticism and learn from it. By the end of the journey, you're going to know everything, because when you were being criticized, you took it with grace, and you let it help you grow to becoming a better person. And then I also found this one where now when it comes to the emotions of the students, the last thing you need is someone who's going to tell you that you are a bad writer. Supervisors make sure that your writing skills also improve. It means you have to listen, because, you know, when you give feedback to a student, then they come back with the second draft. They've repeated a mistake that they have made. But obviously, I'm not going to say you're a bad writer. But that is an example of a very frustrating supervisor. I wouldn't want someone to tell me I'm a bad writer, because it will really discourage you as a person. You want someone who's going to encourage you doing well, but you're still repeating the same mistake. I want to see you improving in your writing. That will probably be more constructive than telling someone that they are a bad writer. You protect the students from any form of harassment or discrimination and conflict. We work with humans, and not everyone has a good heart in the places that we work with. Your supervisor will protect you. You know, there's sometimes sexual harassment, there's sometimes racial harassment or racial discrimination, and other, activities that tend to, traumatize a person. And the supervisor is there to protect you, to make sure that nobody touches you. They will defend you, even if when he locks you in the office and says, I don't like what you did, but they will always make sure that they defend you and they protect you, because there are things that can really discourage a student, and the supervisor makes sure that the students are shielded from such. If it happens that you experience, they are there to reassure you that, you know what, don't listen to those people, or don't listen to that. This is who you are. So the supervisor also has to guard what is happening around their students. Promote communication, always empathetic, flexible, and sensitive to the needs of the student. When we talk about empathetic, I'm going to share with you just a little bit about my journey from my honors all the way to my PhD. I've been blessed with good supervisors. I never had any problem with any of my supervisors. When I was doing my master's, my aunt died. So he died on a Monday morning. Mondays at 10 o'clock, I meet with my supervisor and I give them feedback weekly. So I get a phone call 5 a.m. from my sister telling me that my aunt has died. This is my mom's sister. Obviously, I'm crushed. Instead of emailing my supervisor or sending an SMS, at that time, I think we didn't have tablets there, but we could send an SMS. Instead of sending an SMS and postpone the meeting, said, no, we've got a bereavement, I kept quiet. And it happened that the data I was going to present to him was something that was not impressive. And he just came on me like that, And I'm sitting there and I'm just not impressed with him shouting at me like that, because I'm also heartbroken. I'm sitting there and I want to cry. I've lost one of my favorite aunts, and there's this man, throwing it at me. I don't want to see data like this. So I just packed my bags and I went home. And that was, now at that point, I looked at him and thinking, yo, he's so cruel. Later on, I realized he probably didn't know that I was going through that emotional trauma at that moment, because I didn't communicate with him. If I had told him, he probably would have told me to go home and we would have postponed the meeting. But I didn't tell him. As a result, he came and he gave me his feedback, and his feedback was not a nice one, and it really crushed me. Fast forward to my PhD. Now, the PhD level, I was away from my family. I was independent now. I was feeding myself. I was paying my own rent. I was doing it full time. If there was a time that I needed emotional support, it was when I was doing my PhD. Number one, my dad got sick, very sick. And I had a supervisor who would listen to anything. If I go to his office and yep, I'm a very talkative person. So I used to go to his office and talk. So he knew about everything. I would go to him and I said, Rolf, I don't like the way he's looking at me. I don't like, and he would say, go home. My home is in Eastern Cape. I'm in Cape Town. Go home. And I had a supervisor who stood with me up until the time my father died. And he stood with me and he would say, stay as long as you want. And obviously, I couldn't stay as long as I wanted because I needed to finish my PhD. And then shortly after that, I got mugged, got injured, ended up in hospital. And my supervisor checked on me, understood when I told him that I've been booked off for 2 weeks. And he said, okay, when you come back, we must make a plan, because now I was close to submission. So sometimes you need to be able to talk. Try and share. Also, there's a difference in cultures. If you need to explain, this is how it works. There's going to be circumcision in the family. My younger brother, because white people don't know all that stuff. They get circumcised at 8 days. African people get circumcised at 18 or 21. So now, and the entire family gets involved. Now, if you want to go home early, and the supervisor was like, "What's the big deal?" You need to communicate with each other. Tough love, guys, tough love. You're not going to graduate if there's no tough love between you, or you will just have just a pass. just a pass. You won't have high quality research if there's no tough love. Because remember, you are training someone who is a novice. You want them to be excellent, but you're not going to reach that excellence if there's no tough love. Unless you are training another tough cookie, that knows the road. But, at the end, you want excellence. This teaches the student responsibility, time management, and other soft skills. If you want to know what soft skills, go and Google it. When you graduate, you're not the same person as the one that came in. There's a lot about you that has changed. You even look different. When you graduate, when your first photo when you were first year master's student, and on the day of your graduation, I'm telling you, you don't even have a single pimple. You look different because you have grown. And once you grow inside, it shows outside your face as well. You know your choices are different because you're being polished, being burnished in your journey. When they talk about gold, purifying gold, it comes out on the other side. It goes through the fire, comes out on the other side. What? Pure. That is what the journey, postgraduate journey is. And that tough love comes in to make sure that when you come on the other side, you come through the fire, you're looking completely different. I was beautiful when I graduated my PhD. Much more beautiful than I was when I started my PhD. When I started my PhD, I was thin and ugly. Then when I graduated, I was nice and plumpy and yellow. So can I have the next slide? Sorry, guys, for the delay. It's one of those things, technology. Responsibilities of a student. Now, I think we've interrogated the supervisors long enough. Now let's look at you. Do you have a to-do list? Do you even write a to-do list? Do you have a plan? Do you have a map that you need to follow? What exactly do you want? Do you want to graduate? These are also good. Eat better, sleep more, get more exercise, see friends, but also graduate. There needs to be a balance because you don't want to be, someone mentioned something about being a lonely journey. Yes, it's a lonely journey. I was in my 30s when I did my PhD. All my friends, some of them were married, some of them were managers, some of them were, and I was the only one who was a student with no money, So they used to top up the bill for me if they go to a fancy restaurant. And I'm like, guys, nah, I can't afford the food in that restaurant. Come, we'll pay for you. So that was the life I lived. And it was frustrating because sometimes these people undermine me because I'm broke, So it's a lonely journey, but also that goal must be top in your list. You want to graduate. So you're going to forfeit the bash. You're going to forfeit the trip to the Drakensberg. You're going to forfeit a lot of things because you have a goal, and that is to graduate. And sometimes they don't fit in the timeline. So you have to be wise about your planning. So, student, this is your journey. You are the main actor. In Xhosa, when we're growing up, the main actor, almost when the movie starts, it will say starring Chuck Norris. So we didn't know. We thought, the main actor, the other term is the starring, So you're the starring. You're the main actor. You're the Chuck Norris of this journey. Who are the actors now? Probably some of you don't know Chuck Norris. Do you know Chuck Norris? Who are the actors now? The recent guys. Okay, maybe who's that guy? Captain America, or who's the one with the big hammer? Thor. Yes, Thor. Yes, you are the Thor of your movie. So, because if I say Chuck Norris, I doubt if they'll know who Chuck Norris is. But he was the starring back in the day. So, which means that you are the driver of this journey. You are the driver of this journey. The project is yours. You're the main actor, the project is yours. So if it happens that I break my ankle as a supervisor and I stay at home, who must keep going? You can't wait for me to come back after my sick leave. If it means you have to get into a shuttle and come to my house, you do that. If you feel that, yeah, I'm not meeting my deadlines now, or I'm not meeting the timelines, because this man is sick, you come to my house and we will do whatever. You are the driver. If it means you have to move mountains, you move the mountains, because you are the main actor. Proposal draft, literature research, methodology design, everything listed here. You have to write it. The only thing we do is to make sure that you are moving towards the right direction. We're giving you the resources, but you are the writer of all of these. Final write-up, who writes the final write-up? It's definitely not me. I will come and write my comments, but you are the one who's going to write the final write-up. You're the one who must execute these, and your supervisor will be your first critic. I will criticize you, and but I will guide you at the same time. So you must listen and pay attention. And obviously, you have one goal. There is only one outcome in this journey. If you don't have this desire as a researcher, I'm not going to say you're wasting your time, because it's nice also to be called Dr. Dambuza with a PhD. But there's also one major goal, and that is to get a manuscript. You want to get a manuscript. So now let's talk about the policy. Also, I think Ms. Africana mentioned something about I think she went through responsibilities of the student. The topic, it must also interest you. You can't do a topic that I like. It must be a topic that you like. I can try and make you like my topic, but if you still can't like it, you're not going to enjoy it. So it must be a topic that interests you. Identify knowledge, experience, and skills that you need to do. If you come here, if I may ask any of you, what is one skill that you want to take home when you are done? When you have graduated, what is that one skill that you want to take home? Think about that and make sure that the day you graduate, you can say, I've got it in my hand. I've got that skill in my hand. Be proactive, be on the lookout for learning opportunities. Short courses, they're free short courses sometimes. There are workshops that the university provides. And I've mentioned that Prof. Melaleli likes to give a workshop on Mendeley, which is a referencing package. And sometimes I may miss that, but you as a student, be on the lookout, check your emails, because I know some of you have your Gmails and your Yahoos, but always make sure you check the communication that comes from the university with these learning opportunities. Be passionate about your growth, not only growth in years, but in wisdom, knowledge, interpersonal, and soft skills. So grow and grow and grow. Don't just grow in size and in height, but grow where? Up here, and also personally as a person. Ask questions. Ask questions. This is your first journey as a postgraduate, so you don't know much. So ask questions, be accountable. Be accountable. Deadlines must be met. If I give you a deadline, if I say I want this by the end of the week, you need to tell me. If there are deadlines that you couldn't meet, tell me why you didn't meet. No, we had load shedding. We had this, I couldn't, my laptop was stolen. Share those with your supervisor so that he knows. Meeting schedules must be kept. Timelines that are not met must be explained. Communication is very important. When you are stuck and you need help, talk. Share that with your supervisor. When making changes in the project, communicate that with your supervisor. Don't come with surprises that we didn't communicate about. Personal issues that may hinder your progress. I think I shared my journey when I lost my father. I got mugged. A whole lot of things happened when I was doing my studies. And there are other personal, experiences that you need. There was a case where a student had COVID, and so they disappeared, and they didn't tell the supervisor that they had COVID. The supervisor is expecting feedback from the student. Student has gone AWOL. It's because they're dealing with COVID. They didn't tell the supervisor. Unexpected delays, those will always be there. Unexpected delays, believe me, you will have. So don't go and end up in Hunter's Creek because you didn't meet your deadline. There will be unexpected delays. Always remember, delayed progress means extra year, extra fees. So delays are costly, but you can't avoid them. I told you about the time when I was mugged and I had a broken wrist. Now I'm busy with my thesis writing. Now you ask me, how am I going to type with one wrist? Luckily, my right hand was still active. So I typed with one hand, but that delayed me for weeks. I was a couple of weeks behind. By God's grace, I was able to submit. Obviously, I had to pay extra now because I didn't get, when you submit at a certain time, then you get money back. So now, obviously, there was a deduction, a penalty because I missed the deadline. So I had to pay extra, but luckily I graduated that year. But I was so scared of not graduating because of that delay. So there are delays that you can avoid. There are delays that you can avoid, but the ones that you can avoid, try by all means to avoid them. Do's and don'ts. Do negotiate the terms of your working relationship. So we're going to look at the MOU before we finish. Don't rush ahead without your supervisor's permission. Do initiate interaction with your supervisor. Sometimes, because we're teaching undergraduate work, we're busy. And sometimes I'm going to forget about you. It does happen, guys. Don't take it personal. We will forget about you. You need to come to my office and knock and say, hi, I'm still here. I'm still a human. Just remind me that you exist sometimes. So don't take it personal if I forget about you, because when academic stuff comes in like a flood, sometimes you forget about everything else. Exam time, a whole lot of things happen and we just don't have time to contact you. It means you must initiate the interaction. Don't expect the supervisor to spoon feed you. Follow your supervisor's advice. Don't treat your supervisor like a half-wit. I'm not even going to expand on that word. Okay. Network problems. And then there's a memorandum of understanding, an MOU. This is like a contract between you and your supervisor. This is not to make your relationship rigid, but it's a standard thing that you have to initiate early on. I'm just going to read the first sentence. The aim of an MOU is to give the postgraduate student and the supervisor an opportunity to develop a sound and productive working relationship. You just need to list a few guidelines, that will guide your relationship. So it must be developed in the early stages of your journey. Both the student and the supervisor can clarify expectation and preferences. So you talk. This is where you get to know each other, because you share. No, doc, I go to church on Saturdays. I go to church on Sunday. If maybe the supervisor wants you to have a meeting, so your supervisor knows that, okay, you are a Seventh-day Adventist. You probably go to church on Sunday, on Saturday. Okay, no, this one is not available on Sunday because they're always at church and their church starts from 9 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. So those are things that you need to communicate so that they understand that during Easter, you go to a church convention, and you all go, so you're not available. I am an athletic person. During Easter, I go to Two Oceans, and when I go for like a couple of days to Cape Town. So I don't expect anyone to bother me around that time. So I would definitely tell my supervisor that I'm not available during this time because every year I go and run Two Oceans. It's not a policy. It's just, just a contract, an agreement between you and your supervisor. Templates can be adapted and personalized. So it's not like a rigid thing. So you can do, but as long as it's there. And then if there's a conflict between you and your supervisor, you go back and you say, you signed there. This is what we agreed on. Each supervisor-student relationship is unique. It's not going to be the same. I have two students that are doing masters together in the same lab. My relationship with them is definitely completely different between the three of us. It's not the same. So my agreement with one student, the one student is an international student, and the one student is a South African. The agreements are not the same between me and them. At any given time can be amended. So remember, you said you grow, and you start divorcing certain behaviors, you start adapting new behaviors, and you go and you amend your MOU. Now, coming to the ideal outcome. This is what students want. You know, remember when I said you're not being spoon-fed? This is what students want. We are going to get a paper accepted in Nature. Nature is one of those top journals. And this is how we're going to do it. So that's what the student wants, is to be guided in everything. And the supervisor expects you to perform a miracle. This is what the supervisor wants. By the way, I wrote a paper with you as a co-author, and it got into Nature. That's in an ideal world. There's no way you can finalize your manuscript without your supervisor's guidance. And supervisors, there's no way your student can finalize a manuscript without you guiding them. But at the end of the day, that is the ideal outcome, is to be able to produce a paper in a peer-reviewed journal, not in those predatory journals, those fake journals. You want the ones that is accredited, recognized by DOH. Is it DOE? Yeah, education. So you want to publish in those journals. A journal will be seen by someone in Switzerland. They will cite your work. Unlike with your thesis, yes, they may read the thesis just to guide them, but they won't cite it when they're publishing their work, but they can cite your work if it's in a journal. So as you embark in this journey, have that ideal outcome, and that is to produce a manuscript. It would be nice if it goes to Nature. It will be nice. It's got a very high impact factor. It will be nice if it goes to Nature. But, you know, just follow the journey and make sure that at the end, your supervisor and yourself produce a paper together. Thank you very much. That is it from my side. Any questions? Are the people from the other side back from lunch? Oh, do I need to? I can't move. Is any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Dambuza. I'm not going to add anything more to Dr. Dambuza's presentation. But now we move, and Dr. Dambuza actually referred to Ms. Bavuma, who is our Faculty of Health Sciences representative and an extremely, extremely helpful person. Thank you.
Good afternoon to both the online as well as the students in front of me. My name is Nobuzwe Bavuma. I am the health librarian, health sciences librarian. Today I'm going to talk about the support that we provide for the postgrad students, as well as the services that we have for you as a postgrad student. Okay, so these are my contact details. Quite a lot lately, I have been receiving quite a lot of requests, as well as having postgrad students coming in my office. So I even said to one of the students, who's a master student, not to be rude or anything, but I would like you to make an appointment if you would like to come and see me, because with postgrad students, I find out I've spent quite a lot of time in my office. So instead of having undergrad students who come in and out for just a query, so I do encourage that postgrad students try and make an appointment with me, so I know that I'm not available at a certain time of the day. Okay, so the library membership and its benefits. Okay, so you have registered for this year at the institution. So what are you going to do in order to access our library resources? So every time you register, each and every academic year, we encourage you to register in the library. What you do by that? You come, or what you can do is you can email me your details. I will register you on the library website, and also I will create the PIN. Now the PIN will allow you to be able to access our resources from wherever you are 24/7. Okay, so that's the reason why. And also you can access the interlibrary loans. I think that Dr. Dambuza mentioned quite a lot about the interlibrary loan service, which I will explain just a little bit. And also what you can do is you can renew the items that are out on loan. So please try and make sure that if you haven't done so yet, to register as a library member. Okay, so what are your borrowing rights as a postgrad student? So you will be able to take out 20 books for a period of 60 days with an option, of course, to renew those books if you are not done with those books. And also, for those students who are not actually in Gqeberha, we do courier books to where you are staying, but you have to courier those books back to us as well. Okay, so the interlibrary loan service. So you might do searches and you might come across journal articles we might not have full access to. Remember, there are a lot of publications that are available online, which some of them we subscribe to, but we don't subscribe to any and everything that is published. So the interlibrary loan service come as a service to you where you will see a journal article or even a chapter from an ebook, and then you want to have access to that article. What you'll do is you will email me the details of those articles. I will send it through to our interlibrary loans. We will normally receive it as an email, and then I will send you that article or the chapter of that book to you. It's a free service. We don't charge students for that service. Usually pre-COVID, we used to also borrow books from the institutions, but we don't do that anymore. Okay, so from the library website, what can you find? Okay, so as the library website, there is our URL at the bottom, which is library.mandela.ac.za. Where you will be able to find the online databases, Google Scholar, as well as the LibGuides. So, okay, so what are the important links? So as a postgrad student, some of you will not be based in Gqeberha. And let's say, for instance, you are residing in Johannesburg, and UJ as well as Wits University is closer to you that you can make use of. So we've got this form where we will ask you to fill that form. You will indicate which institution you would like access to. You will fill in that form. Okay, so this is the form that you will we will send you. So you will fill in this form. You will indicate which institution you would like access to. Let's say you would say University of Johannesburg or Wits University. And then you will also, of course, indicate the faculty, the course, and also what is your field of research is. And then we will give you that letter. You take that letter to that institution. Now, the terms and conditions on how to use that institution solely depends on that institution. We don't dictate what they can allow access in that library. They will tell you, of course, what is their stipulation, what is expected of you as the Nelson Mandela student. And also sometimes we do have a problem where students are able to take out books from that institution and you don't return them. So what they normally do in that case is they contact us as your institution, where they will ask us to trace you to be able to send those books. And please try and make sure that you keep the relationship good, because if that happens, it actually affects other students that come after you, because they will see that Nelson Mandela students are not actually responsible, or they lose their books. So please try and make sure that you maintain good relationship with every institution that you are going to be assigning to. Okay, so over the years, we've created what we call the LEAP guides. So the LEAP guides is specially designed for specific topics. Like, for instance, we've got the APA style. So we will show you exactly when you do referencing in a book, in a journal. So that's that. And also we've got a LEAP guide on the end note, which our reference tool. I will talk about this near my end of the presentation, and also on finding information on your research. So we've got a guide there. So this is actually very good for you to actually go and browse, because we've got tricks there where we'll show you the searching techniques that we use to try and find the most relevant information, which databases will be useful for you to search to find that information. So the LEAP guides is actually a very good place to go to. Okay, and then we've got what we call the digital commons. The digital commons are actually your thesis and your dissertation from all the institutions in the Eastern Cape, which will be Fort Hare, Rhodes University, as well as Walter Sisulu. So if you are looking, let's say, for instance, you see if there's a particular topic or there has been research that has been released from the Eastern Cape, you can go to the digital commons. Now there at the top, it's either you know the title, let's say for instance, you want to see what is your supervisor has released in terms of the research within the institution, you can type it in there. You can type in the surname or the topic. Let's say I've made use of Dr. Abdullah from the social sciences. So I've typed it in, and then I can see that she has released. Now at the top there, I can see that there's 2 research that she has released. And if I click on that name, and then I can see she's got her master's as well as a doctoral research that she's released. And then if I want to open up that doctoral thesis, I can actually click on the download, and then I will be able to access those. Okay, so that's one of the ways of actually checking if you've got any research that has been done, or you are interested to see which topics have been actually published at Nelson Mandela. And then finding the ebooks. Now, I find that having ebooks is very useful, especially for your research. A lot of students sometimes, especially postgrad, will write to me and ask for the latest research books. That's where you will also be able to find the ebooks, the electronic books. So what you do is you go to the classic catalog, and then under there where it says more options, you click on the advanced key. And then you can type in, where you can say qualitative research method or whatever the topic is. But when it comes to the material type, you have to select the ebook. And then you will see. So if I've selected all these search results will contain all the ebooks that I have. And then if I want to access the title, what I will have to do is click on the title of the book. And then there is the link. Remember when I mentioned that you have to register as a library user and have a PIN. You'll only be able to do this once you have registered as a library member, okay? So I will click on the link that I have been given. And this is the title of the book. What is nice about this, you can actually browse by the chapter. okay, of the book. And also if you want to, let's say, for instance, want to download a particular chapter, you don't actually need the whole book. You can do that. Let's say want to download an article on the ethics as well as cultural competencies, I can actually do that. Just download only the chapter instead of the entire book. But if you do download the book, it's only issued for a period, I think, of 7 days. After that 7 days, it goes back to the system. So it's not yours forever, okay? But sometimes we do find out if the book is quite in demand. We do change the settings and make it, let's say, available for 3 hours at a time. And also when we purchase ebooks, it depends on the publisher, because sometimes they make one license available, which means there was one copy. So if I'm busy with that copy, you won't be able to see that copy. But sometimes there are licenses where it's unlimited, which means all of us in this room will be able to access that book. So it depends on the licenses of the publisher, how the book is available online. Okay, and then we come to the online databases where we would normally go and search for our journal articles. Okay, so on the library homepage, it goes to online databases. And then also you will see there at the top, we do mention that to access the databases from off-campus, you need to be a registered member as well as having the PIN. And then we've got a whole list there, but I've included a slide for you to show you which databases will be relevant for you for your research. And then, so EBSCO is actually a multidisciplinary database which you can use. And then I thought that I should actually include Nexus. Now, Nexus is actually a database that includes all the institutions in South Africa. So all the South African institutions, their thesis and database and their dissertation are included there. Also, what's also included there is actually the conference papers. The conference papers are also included there. So Nexus is also one of the databases. And then, of course, PubMed, Sabinet. Sabinet is the only South African database that we have amongst the list that we have. It includes also the South African content as well as the African content. But that doesn't mean that when I do a search on EBSCO, I'm not going to have results from South Africa. It's just that Sabinet is the only one that we have in South Africa. And then also, I thought at the bottom there, you will see I've included Press Reader. Now, Press Reader is actually our database, which has newspapers as well as the magazines from all over South Africa. And the nice thing about this, you can actually download the app on that, register for yourself, and then you will be able to read the magazines, all the magazines, your U magazines, and all the newspapers, whether it's from South Africa or in America, all the newspapers are included there. Okay, so one of the databases I like to mention, especially during the orientation for postgrad, it's SAGE Research Methods. And the reason why I like to mention that, because it's got all the research books that you have. And the nice thing also about SAGE Research Method, it's got the little bit videos that do an explanation. So sometimes you'll find a 3-minute video where you've got an expert which explained what is qualitative research method, what is quantitative research, just the short videos for you to be able to access as a student. And also you will see that they've got under the tools what they call the project planner. So at postgrad level, these are the steps that you will have to undertake: defining your topic, reviewing the literature, developing a researchable question, the research design, research ethics. So this is actually a nice database to go and see what they have to offer you as a postgrad student. So the research method is that. Okay, so this is also just one of the things that they have available there for you as a postgrad student. And then we come to the EndNote reference tool management. Now, the EndNote reference management is actually a customized library which you can store all your bibliographic. Now, I do encourage students to download this even before they start with their initial search. And the reason being is I do find out sometimes, especially with postgrad students, and especially if they've got an outside supervisor. Normally with our supervisors at Nelson Mandela, they let the students put in their bibliography manually. But sometimes you'll find a course supervisor from the University of Cape Town who will insist that the students must make use of the EndNote. And remember, you would have done all your project, and now you have to come and download the EndNote. So I do encourage you to please try and download EndNote even before you do or you start with your project. And then once you as you go and do a search, and you find journal article, you can upload all those journal articles, even if you are not going to use them for your project in the end. But it helps you to be able to have some sort of structure as well. And also the nice thing is you can export all these references from the databases as well as the Google Scholar. And also you can manually create the references. And also you can insert the referencing in your Word document. And I've put in there the little note that to download and install EndNote on your PC, you have to go to the library website. And there has been a little bit of change. So for those who will be using their personal PCs or laptops, they can be able to download this. But for those of us who are staff members, especially if we are using the institutional computers or laptops, we have to log a call to the ICT because they've taken away the administrative rights because of the issues that they had before. Okay, so this is just an interface to show you what is EndNote looking like. So this is just some of the articles that I have been downloading from various databases. And then if I want to insert or want to create a bibliography, so what we will do is you will see there's EndNote 20. The institution is currently subscribing to EndNote 20 now. So you will be able to go to EndNote 20, and then you will click on the insert citation. And once I've done that, you will see that it's sitting there. So you don't actually have to worry about making sure that you have. Also, the important thing is you must make sure that your reference style that you are going to choose there at the top, the example there is Harvard, but just make sure that you have a reference style that you have selected. And that's about it. Any questions? Yes.
Wanted you to just touch on what is the process for students and staff to follow in a situation where they see an article online, but when using the university access, they don't have access to that. How can they go about getting that article?
Okay, so there are two ways. As I mentioned earlier on, the interlibrary loan service is there for that. So you do a search, you see that there's an article that you are interested in, but you are unable to get the full text on that. So what you'll do is you will email me the details of that article. So I will need the author, the title of the article, the title of the journal, the year, the volume, and possibly the issues. You'll email that to me, and then I will forward your request to our interlibrary loan office. And then once we receive the article, and then I will forward it to you at no charge. Yes.
What I just wanted to ask is, or rather confirm, I know when you download or EndNote near from the library website, it would usually request you to connect to the VPN. Now, does it still happen or what? But also highlighting that for students who actually want to download that, there's like guides on how to do that.
Okay, so if you want to download EndNote, you have to have your VPN on. Because it wants to recognize you as a student of the university. And remember also, you have to use your Nelson Mandela student email in order to access EndNote. Please don't use the Gmail address. Please make sure that you just use your student your student email account in order to access our EndNote. Any other questions?
It's in terms of EndNote, I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer me, but then I've used it before and I've referenced with it, and it was a Harvard style, but then the issue I had with it was the bibliography was the names, the authors came out in caps. And in text referencing, the first reference needs to be the entire names of all of the authors, but then it came out with the et al. So it's sort of like I had to redo that.
Okay. Okay, so with EndNote, there are different types of Harvard. So there's the Harvard, normal Harvard, and then there's the Sage Harvard. So there is a difference. It's such a pity that I'm not online to make an example on that. So there are different ones. And also you can customize EndNote. I remember receiving that type of a question from students where they wanted all the authors to appear instead of just one author. There is a way for that where you can customize it. And sometimes you'll find that when you do the in-text referencing, it will only show the year, and also maybe you want to insert the page number. There is a way to do that. I will be able to assist with those little, because you have to tweak it sometimes if you are, it depends with the students' preferences, because some of them are happy with just et al, but some of them will say, I want all the authors. No, I need the page number to appear like this. And also there are different types of Harvard. There's a Sage Harvard, which happens to show the small caps instead of all the all caps. Yeah. Oh, it's a virtual private network. Yeah, it's a virtual private network. I'm not sure how it works from the private personal computers, but I know from my work one, sometimes when I want to work from home, I don't actually have to have a PIN. I can just turn on the virtual private network. I'm not too technical. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Um, if you go online to your student portal, I'm not sure how the staff portal works, but I'm familiar with the student portal. And you go to the library. If you saw the screenshots that Umampavoma actually showed on her slideshow, at the bottom when you press the access end note, under that there are different versions first of EndNote, and then within there's a guide of how to connect to the VPN. It's similar to the way you connect to Wi-Fi, because it's a similar what you call, it's a similar thing, and then it's going to give you details on how to do that. But usually it's going to ask for the username, which is your student email, and your password that you use to access the university systems or emails. Yeah, and then you're going to automatically be connected to the university systems, as Utemeka has said.
Yes, for those students who would like to register and have access to the library resources, yes, you can email me your details, and then I will register you and also create a pin for you.
There's a question that someone might have had a problem with connecting to the VPN. So now they're asking if was it probably because they were not registered with the library stuff, or does it connect in any way? To use the VPN, but they were not registered on the library things.
No, it's actually not connected to the VPN is not actually connected to the library as far as I'm concerned, because I remember working from home and wanting to access the university, just a general university access, and it's easier that way. But it's definitely not because you have a problem, you haven't registered as a library member. No, if you have a problem like that, then I would suggest that you contact the ICT. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bavuma. As always, very informative, and I think most students find the help that Mrs. Bavuma gives is very, very helpful, and she probably hasn't covered everything that she can do, but she's please contact her during the various times that you need to contact her. People often don't realize they need her until the last minute. So we're actually gaining time. I'm not sure if Mrs. Adams is on. Okay, Mrs. Adams, we're actually running ahead of time. So if you would like to go ahead and begin your presentation.
We can begin.
Thank you very much. So Mrs. Adams is just going to do a little presentation on, she's from research development, and she's going to do a presentation on external funding, which is always something of interest to students, to find out where is their funding and how do you access it. So thank you, Mrs. Adams.
We're just waiting for it to share. Okay, so my name is Ms. Terry Adams. I'm from the Department of Research Development. I'm a student assistant assisting Mr. Khan with the external master's and doctoral scholarships. With me today, I have my colleague, Mr. Siyanda Mazibuko. So today we're going to be discussing funding opportunities for postgraduate students specific to the Faculty of Health Sciences. So today we will begin by discussing the Department of Science and Innovation, National Research Foundation, DSI-NRF, scholarship opportunities. We'll give you the contact people for the relevant queries. Then we'll move into the internal postgraduate research scholarship, or PGRS, and provide you with the contact people for PGRS. Then we go into Domo Cunningham, which is this very specific scholarship which masters and doctoral students within the health sciences of specific disciplines can apply for, and then Ernst and Ethel. We will end with an information slide where you can also access the relevant funding opportunities. I will now hand over to my colleague, Mr. Sianda Mazabuko, to discuss DSI-NRF.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to be taking you through our funding criteria as well as everything related to NRF. So the DSI NRF scholarship opportunities are all done online, and all postgraduate students are expected to apply online on the NRF Connect system by accessing the nrfconnect.nrf.ac.za link, and no manual applications are now accepted. So please note that the NRF continual students, so the students that were previously funded by NRF, are required to submit progress reports, but that will be highlighted in the framework documents. And all postgraduate students are required to, are allowed to apply for NRF, but namely honors, masters, and doctoral students. So for next year, the call for 2024 NRF scholarships will open later on in this month, in April, and the internal closing dates are still to be determined. So just keep an eye out on your memos and just keep watching everything that we do post out. And then it is very, very important that you adhere to the institutional dates, the cutoff dates, so that you do not miss out on any opportunities for your application to be submitted to the NRF for review. That's been one of our biggest problems, where students walk in our office and they require funding, but they've missed the cutoff date, and unfortunately nothing can be done on our side. So it is very, very important that you just at least apply on time. Even if you don't think you're going to make it, just apply. But before you apply, please carefully read through the application and funding guide, as well as the framework documents provided by the NRF when completing the online application, just to guide you at every single step so that you don't miss anything or you don't do anything wrong, basically. It's a very simple process, but please do follow the guide. It's available online, a simple Google search. We'll provide in our emails. So everyone just doesn't have an excuse, basically. Please do note the required attachments for your NRF application, as well as the eligibility criteria. And what makes up the bulk of that criteria is the academic, well, the most important part of it is the academic requirement, and that is the 65% average that you will have obtained in your previous qualification. So let's say you're applying for master's funding, you will have needed at least 65% in your honors degree, or for honors, you would have needed at least 65% in your final year or your major modules from your undergrad degree. And the entry age requirement is 28, 30, and 32 years or younger for honors, masters, and doctoral studies, respectively, in the year of application. So let's say you're applying for honors, maximum age you can be is 28 when you're applying for honors funding, for masters 30, and for doctoral 32. And basically our NRF funding is, well, all NRF funding can be classed as either full cost of study, that's receiving the entire amount, or as partial cost of study. And so now full cost of study funds are given to South African citizens and permanent residents only, who are either financially needy, living with a disability, or exceptional academic achievers. And to be an exceptional academic achiever, you need a minimum of 75% for your previous qualification. And to qualify as financially needy, the combined household family income will be required to be less than 350,000 Rand per annum. And this can be confirmed with an NRF ISFAB test, or if you have proof of previous NSFAS funding, which will essentially classify you as financially needy. Now, when you apply, all master's and doctoral students really need to consult with the supervisors or at least prospective supervisors before submitting an application, and ensure that your supervisor proofreads the application before submission. And master's applicants who don't have a supervisor yet can consult a senior academic in the discipline to assist with the details of research section. That can even be your HOD, just to make sure your application is on the right track. So what applies to that is the importance of supervisor or referee responses in the application guide. But if you do go through the guide carefully, the application guide that is, and all the other NRF framework documents, everything should be highlighted as to what to do. It's literally like holding your hand and guiding you through the entire process. So everybody should be able to sort of put in a proper NRF application. The application category section is also very important, but then again, please just refer to your framework document for further details. Scholarship types, well, the different types of funding that the NRF administers, including funding that may be linked to your supervisor or people who have grant chairs. And yeah, everything can be highlighted in there. But now to contact anybody in terms of your NRF funding, or if you have any other questions, for honors specifically, you can contact Ms. Tozama Mnonopi or Mr. Joe Lyndon Peterson. And then for master's and doctoral NRF queries, you can contact our manager, Mr. Imtiaz Khan, or my colleague, Ms. Terry Adams, or myself, Sianda Mazibuko. All of us are available on the 13th floor. You can come pop in at any time should you have any questions, and we'd be more than happy to help. I'm just going to pass over to Ms. Terry Adams once again to take you through our postgraduate research scholarship.
Thank you, Sianda, for that insightful presentation. So now for PGRS, this is a funding opportunity for honors, masters, and doctoral students who study at Nelson Mandela University. Once again, the students need to adhere to the internal application deadline dates, which is in the call memo that is usually sent out. This call memo usually goes out during the month of October, so we encourage students to please keep an eye out on their student emails, as this will go out and you again do not want to miss this funding opportunity. As Sianda said previously, with NRF, we are currently dealing with students who unfortunately missed funding opportunities. So again, please adhere to that call memo. For the eligibility criteria for the PGRS funding window, it's open to South African citizens, South African permanent residents, as well as international candidates who intend to undertake full-time honors, master's, or doctoral studies at Nelson Mandela University. Again, please, before applying, see the additional criteria within the framework. Make note of the maximum funding, your maximum funding periods, and so forth that is highlighted within the framework. Also pay attention to key points regarding employment and so forth. Continuing students, like with NRF, need to submit a progress report. So your contact people for PGRS queries, again with honors, this is administered by Mr. Zama Mnonopi and Mr. Joe Lyndon Peterson. For masters, you will consult Ms. Olaide Olajuwon. And for doctoral and extension support scholarships for PGRS, you will contact Mrs. Deline Gerber. Okay, now this scholarship, known as the Dormo Cunningham Trust, is currently open, as you have noted through the memo email that was sent out approximately last week. So this is a current opportunity for 2023. It is for full-time masters and doctoral students. However, you must be a South African citizen. Primarily, the preference for Dormo Cunningham is for students within the SET discipline, which is your sciences, engineering, and education. But there is students within the health sciences, who are eligible for to apply for this funding. This includes those in pharmacy, those in psychology, social work, human movement sciences, biokinetics, and dietetics. For the renewal students who had Dormo Cunningham last year, please, you need to submit an application for 2023. It is not automatically awarded to you once again. Also note that if, regardless of your qualification, If you had Domo Cunningham for 3 years prior, you are not eligible for application in 2023. Okay, the applications are submitted to myself and our deadline is by 4:30 p.m. on the 24th of April, so it's this month. Unfortunately, no late applications past this deadline time will be accepted. Also, no incomplete applications will be accepted. So on the application form and in the scholarship call memo, there was a list of required documents that you must submit with the scholarship application. And also note the instruction on the format of how your submission needs to be submitted to me. Correspondence for the scholarship will only be limited to those who were shortlisted by Domo Cunningham. Lastly, a funding opportunity that is available to those pursuing master's and doctoral qualifications and are South African citizens within the health sciences is the Ernst and Ethel Erickson Trust. So typically, the scholarship, which would be for 2024, it would open towards the end of the year, so around about August, and it will close typically towards the end of September. But the dates that are for the opening and closing windows are on the website, as once again, this is an online application process. So again, your eligibility is that you need to be a South African citizen, either who has completed your honors and intend to do a master's or doctoral qualification. You must be registered or accepted into the qualification which you are intending to study at a recognized South African institution. Additionally, a strong academic record is a good thing for the scholarship. So below is the website which you would visit for all the information about the scholarship opening and closing window and the documents and the application process. You will note that you need to register online on this website in order to start the application process. All queries for the Ernst and Ethel Erickson Trust can be sent to their email, as this is an external funder. For more information about any scholarship opportunities, we do have our website, which houses our electronic version of the postgraduate funding booklet. So those are 2 web links which you can access all the funding opportunities available. It is updated as funding opportunities are opened and memos are sent out. Also, we suggest that students like our Facebook page because this too is continuously updated by our staff. And thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. It's really much appreciated. I think there's a question here on the floor. And
Thank you so much for your presentation coming from the research office. I just wanted to ask with regards to the Jamel Cunningham Trust bursary or scholarship. I've seen that on the form, the signature is ought to be handwritten or electronically filled in. Now, I just wanted to ask if with the rest of the form, does it also have to be handwritten or it can be typed out? Because with the signature, they actually didn't want it to be signed, to be typed. Yes, thank you.
Correct. So when they refer to electronically written, it means that you have an electronic signature which you can create by scanning maybe your original signature and putting it on like you do in Word or Adobe. So, but the form you can fill out electronically. But please remember, that's 2 places that you have to sign. So there's one section where you have to sign, which is under the POPI Act, and then there's at the end the form itself. Also remember that your HOD or supervisor must support your application, so they too must sign the application.
Noted. Thank you.
It's only a pleasure.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Terry. I wanted to ask, I know, especially with all scholarships, the importance of official documents. So in a situation where a student is owing the fees and they cannot get access, they can't access their official academic record, and they need that academic record for applying for funding. Or what are the process to get that, or is there anything that they can submit?
Hi, Timbeka. Thank you for your question. We advise that the students contact us, tell us that they owe fees and that they need access to an academic record, such as example with Dormo Cunningham. If the student owes fees, they can email me and tell me that they owe fees. I will then go ahead and request the academic record on their behalf. However, I cannot send the academic record to the student. With NRF, in terms of the processes, we are able to also upload, currently when we accept the award for the new NRF students, many of them also were unable to access an academic record, for example, or their proof of registration was unofficial. So we went ahead and requested that on behalf of the students. But again, if they are owing due to the POPI Act, we cannot give that to the student.
Thank you very much. Just looking to see if there's any more. There was a question on the chat box. I see that Mr. Khan responded to the question, but I just thought I'm just going to read it out quickly. The query was from Elisha Bowers, whether or not there was any part-time funding, and Mr. Khan responded that unfortunately that there are no longer scholarships that the Research Development Office administers for part-time studies, but he encourages those part-time, unless of course it's a part-time which is only offered part-time, of course. Otherwise, students must apply for external funding for part-time funding. So that is it's a good question. Thank you. So yeah, just checking to see if there's any other questions. Yeah, so there was another, Mr. Connors just emphasizing what Ms. Adams said on the presentation, to really go and look at that Facebook site. I think that's an easy way to access the latest funding, because it's constantly updated. So yeah, any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Adams, for your presentation, and your colleagues for taking the time out just to sort of share with us the kind of funding that is available. Yeah, it's very useful information. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Can we have a round of applause? Thank you. Okay. We're actually running a little bit ahead of schedule. Just check. We now have Ms. Rangana, who's going to present, do a presentation on the PG assessment process. Nice to see you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nulu Vohangana. I am from the Assessments and Graduation Office. I am here this afternoon with my boss, the manager, for the postgraduate section, Mrs. Warda Mohammed. And we're here this afternoon to talk to you guys about the submission research documents to our office for examination. So when you are done with your master's or your PhD and your supervisor has given you the go-ahead to submit to our office, what happens is that you must first make sure that your title that you have submitted to us is the title that was approved by the faculty, okay? And also you must ensure that your supervisor signs. There is a permission to submit form that your supervisor must sign. So when you are submitting to the exams office, please ensure that you submit your dissertation, in a PDF format, and also the form that is signed by your supervisor. Now that form can either be submitted to us as a separate attachment, or it can be part of your dissertation as well. Also, please note that the words research is subject to a confidentiality agreement. Those words, most students, they have those words on the cover of their research. If your research is not approved as a confidential research, please do not have that line on your cover. Okay. So this is a very important point that I would like to make. So if you don't remember anything from me this afternoon, please remember this, because it has so many consequences and it can cause delays when it comes to dispatching your work. So when you are submitting to us, you submit an electronic copy, right? On the subject of your email, you are health science, right? So you need to say #assess_health. Then you have your surname, then you have your initials, and then you have your student number. If you submit to us with a subject that says final Ndlovu, or please find whatever subject that if you don't use this subject, then your work will go into another PG mailbox. And it will cause delays in terms of sending it out, because we will be sending out the work that is submitted in the assess mailbox first. So it is very, very important that when you are submitting for assessment, please use that as your subject. Also, towards the submission date, we also send an email. You will receive an email through memo. Please read that email. I know that email has a lot of information, but all of that information is very important. And I would like to believe that at this level, I'm sure we're used to reading a lot of books, a lot of articles, so that email is nothing compared to that. Please read that email. Then after you have submitted to us, this one is for doctoral students. You submit your PhD thesis, but you must also submit a citation of 100 words. So it is your thesis, it is your permission to submit from your supervisor, and it is a citation of 100 words in Microsoft Words, together with your thesis. Also, you must submit a manuscript in article format to your supervisor. So when you get that email from Memo saying submission, assessment, and graduation, I know if you're a master's student, you will think, what is this article thing? This is not for me. That's fine, but you need to sift through that email, because there is information there that pertains to masters. There is information there that pertains to doctorates. So basically what this slide is saying is what I've been saying to you, that what I'm talking about here is in the general prospectus, and that as a doctorate student, you need to be prepared to submit that manuscript, and you need to submit the full article to your supervisor within 6 weeks of the submission of the thesis. So these are the timelines. So you are now done with your dissertation. You have submitted to the exams office. What happens next? So your examiners are given, if you are doing masters, your examiners are given 4 weeks to assess your work. And if you are doing a PhD, your examiners are given 6 weeks to assess your work. So they will assess your work, and then that time frame will pass, and then we'll receive your reports. Once we receive your reports, we do not inform you of the outcome. Once we receive the reports, we send the reports to your faculty. They will sit for a meeting and they will approve those reports. You will receive feedback from the faculty manager through your supervisor of what the outcome is. So I'm saying this so that you don't call exam to say, I've submitted, what are my results? Did I pass? Did I not? You will not get that information from the exams office. Also, if the degree is awarded, now you get your results, you have passed your master's, your degree is awarded by the faculty, then what must happen? You need to now submit final copies, which is something that I will talk about next. But if now you don't pass, maybe your reports are not negative, then you will need to work on your work and resubmit to the exams office. Now, the time frame between you getting your bad news that you have not made it, you need to fix A, B, and C, is 3 months. So you must make your corrections within 3 months if you are doing your master's, and you need to be done with those corrections. If you are doing a PhD, the university is giving you 6 months for you to effect those corrections and resubmit to exams. Now, with the final copies, let's say now you have passed, so you don't have a resubmission. What is the next step? So you receive your reports. Congratulations, you are done with your master's, you have passed, well done. Now, what is the next step for you? So your examiners will have comments when they are assessing your work, and they will have suggestions for you to effect. You and your supervisor will go through those reports, and you will make the corrections. And if your supervisor is now happy with your corrections, and then you submit again to us. But now when you're submitting to us now, you're not submitting for assessment because you are done with your master's, right? You are now submitting a copy to us that we will send to the library and to your supervisor. Now, this copy, yes, next please. Now, this final copy, it will be more or less the same thing that happened when you were submitting your assessment copy. But the difference now is that on the subject, again, this is very important because again, if you do not take care of that subject line on the emails, your final copy will go to the general postgraduate inbox. So now this time you say #final. Remember the first time when you were submitting for assessment, you said #assess because this needs to go for assessment to the examiners, but now you have passed. Now it's not going to be assessed. Now we are sending it to the library. So now it is your final copy. So what we have noticed is that most students, when they are submitting for assessment, just because it's my final copy, my supervisor is happy with it. Now it's not a draft 7 or a draft 8 or whatever the case is. I will say final copy Hangan, of which at that point in time, it's not a final copy because it still needs to go and be assessed. But now that everything is fine, you have passed and everything, you are now submitting to us a copy that will go to the library. Now, only now it's a final copy. So now you say #final, still your underscore health, which is your faculty, and then your surname, initial, and student number. Very important on that final copy as well. If your research is not regarded as confidential from the faculty, if it's confidential, you will know. If it's not, you will also know. If it is not, please do not have that line that says research is subject to confidentiality, because it is not. And I'm saying this because we want to limit me sending you an email to say, please remove this, please don't, because you might not see it. And very important, if you don't submit a copy, you will not graduate. You will not be in the graduation program because you have not fully completed the process. You have not met the requirements, because the requirements are that when you have passed your master's or your PhD, you need to submit a final copy. So if you do not submit a final copy, regardless of the fact that the faculty has awarded you the degree, you will not be linked for graduation. So it is very, very, very important. And lastly, these are my details. I am the exam consultant that is in charge of the health science faculty. So when you are submitting, I will be sending your work to the examiners. If you have any questions, if you are not sure of anything, you can send me an email. That is my email address, noluvo.hangana@mandela.ac.za. My number is 041-504-3326. You can call, you can send an email if you have any questions. If you are unsure about what to do when you're about to submit, you can call and just double check with me so that you submit correctly. Thank you so much. I will take questions. Are there any questions? You will call me when the time comes. Okay, well, good luck with your studies. Enjoy the ride and we can check online. No questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think there's a couple of reasons why we asked exams to come here. Is first of all, it's an important process which is a part of the whole research journey, and your research culminates in that last stretch. That's the one thing. And then the other thing is, as a number of our presenters have said already, we need to think about goals. What is the goal? So start with the end in mind. The end is graduation. And this presentation is highlighting and emphasizing that aspect of the research. So you now have seen what you're going to do when you submit your final thesis or dissertation. And that's going to be your goal. That's your ultimate goal, is to cross the stage. And what Ms. Khana has said is that that if you get it wrong at the end there with the typo, you could end up having a delay. So you want to try and avoid that. So and also the other thing is that exams are very good. Assessment and Graduation Office is very good at sending regular emails notifying students of the steps to take in submitting their final dissertation or thesis with the dates. And then Ms. Africana also then resends it to re-emphasize those. So please, another reason why you must keep looking at those student mails. So for the rest of this journey of yours, master's, doctorate, you won't be looking at Gmail, only mandela.ac.za. That's it. It's a very boring time for you guys. I'm joking, but Ms. Mohammed, thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to add, when you spoke about Gmail, when you've submitted your final copy, the assessment process is complete. You are then linked for graduation. Your communication with regards to graduation will come from our office. It is only sent to student mail. So you will need to have access to your student email. I know a lot of the M&D students use their private email, but please, you need to ensure that you have your relative PIN to unlock that account, because you'll access all the information from your student account. And then to download your web certificate as well, which we send to you, you do it via your student email and not personal email. So very important to for your communication with the institution, we must use student email. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just for those of you who don't know, this is Ms. Mohammed. Mrs. Mohammed is the manager at the exams office. An incredibly stressed, it's a bit like an air traffic controller. It's one of the most stressful positions to have. Yeah. That being said, with regard to the Mandela Mail, that applies to a lot of things. So all your emails, all the very formal institutional mails that come through are going to come to your student mail. So please, it's very tempting to just ignore it, but it is probably one thing that people make a mistake about. They say, "Oh, I didn't get the email," including from the library. They'll tell you if you've got some books outstanding, and your fines are slowly building up because you're not checking your student mail. So did you have a question or? Okay, all right. So if there aren't any further questions, and thank you very much for coming in person. It really makes a difference seeing the people behind the emails. Thank you very much for taking the time out to join us. If we can give another round of applause to our exams office. Thank you. Great. You're welcome to stay or Otherwise, you may be on your way. Okay, we've got our last presenter now. I can see Dr. Mufamadi over there. Dr. Mufamadi is the chair of nanomedicine, and he's got quite a support team here. Now that's the nanomedicine corner, but there's also more. Thanks, Doctor. Just go ahead and speak.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Yeah. Yeah, actually, my presentation is there. Let me start with my presentation. Yeah, I'm actually, we're actually based in Missionville. Let me start that part, particularly because I see a lot of activity in Faculty of Health Science. They are happening within either this campus, North Campus, or South Campus. So for those who are interested to know more about us, they can come and join us in the Missionville campus. I'm just going to start with the indication, some of our bit of a mission and vision. You know, I always tell my colleagues that it's very important to have a goal, you know. So as a group at the medical school, our aim is to become a leader in the field of nanomedicine. And then we actually happy to have a couple of young generation or next generation of young scientists that are really keen to join our group. And we are aiming to train them to understand the impact and the importance of this field of nanomedicine. Yes, we also look at other things that are very important, particularly for SDGs, including the gender equality, because this is the part which, as a group, we must also look at the benefits, not just for the group, but also looking at areas where there is a need. We also try to focus on the issue of public awareness. Yeah. So public awareness, we feel like it's very important sometimes for a new field or imaging field growing, and you must able to make sure you share with other people, because otherwise you've got a new field growing, but people outside, they don't even know what it's all about. So I see most of this when it comes to those who are working in commercial products. So you are telling someone about nano, people still don't know what is nano is all about. So those are some of the things that I feel like is very important as us as a group to make sure that we don't only teach people at university, perhaps we must also look at those young ones that are still at high school, that perhaps they might see this field as a beneficiary in the future. Actually, our group is usually under this leadership. Our main leader is Dr. Thandi Mgwebo, which is the DVC, and then including Dr. Professor Zingela, the Dean of Faculty of Science. We also have a steering committee, which more of like a board. These are the kind of people that we report to them every 3 months. We have got external people, which are DSI. DSI, they're more like our funders. We also have the UNISA group, which are Itamba Lab. They are more like our mentor. This is one of the biggest nanoscientists in the continent, which is Prof. Maza. So we are also part of that committee. We have got a dean, which is actually our dean for Faculty of Science. She's a chair for that steering committee. We have got a dean also for Faculty of Science. We have got also director for medical school, Prof. Melari, which is here. And we also the director for medical school, and including the director for research and support and management, which is Dr. Mziligas. So, like I already indicated, sometimes when you still talk about nano, people are always getting confused. They think you're talking about the same card on your phone, you know, this nano's same card. So it's very complex and confusing. So at least today I'll give you a little bit of what is this nanotechnology is all about. So they say the term nano is actually it's a Greek word which means dwarf. And then I also show you that indeed it's a dwarf. That car is very small and it's from India. So indeed, this is a small things. So at nano, when you're talking about nano, we're talking about something quite very small. You'll get to understand what I'm talking about when I say small. So we are actually engineering medicine at the size of nano, which is about 1 to 100 nanometer. 1 to 100 nanometer is a very small size. Just to give you an example, you really see from this structure here that you see the DNA, the viruses. So if you're talking about 1 to 100 nanometer size, we're talking about we are engineering a medicine within this range, less than a size of virus. So we're engineering medicine within the size of less than a virus, less than a bacteria and fungus and everything. So that's kind of engineering that we're doing. We're engineering this medicine at microscopic level where you can only see this using microscopy. Then what is the term nanotechnology? There's a different type of terms, people define a different way, but actually nanotechnology is the science, engineering, technology conducted at nanoscale. I already indicated nanoscale is 1 to 100 nanometer. And then when we talk about nanomedicine, we're talking about that application of nanomaterials at a 1 to 100 nanometer. We in Faculty of Health, in science or in our group, we use nanomedicine for specific for therapeutic purposes, diagnostic purposes, imaging, and regenerative medicine. Just to give you a little bit of how these nanomaterials look like. Actually, I already indicate to you that nanomaterials, they are within the size of 1 to 100 nanometer. And then the materials that we use to engineer these nanomaterials are different. We're talking about lipids, we're talking about polymers, metals, carbon nanotubes, and many others. Those are the kind of things. And other advantage, although it is at nano, we are also allowed to designing things in a different type of shape. And one of the most benefit in this field is that nanomaterials allow us to do many other things like surface engineering. In other ways, we're able to encapsulate some of the things like ligands, which are able to play a role in terms of target delivery for our drugs, for pharmaceutics, surface engineering, surface charges. If we want to charge to make sure our particles have a specific charge, we can able to modify in the surface structure. We can also incorporate other polymers like polyethylene glycol. We can also modify with other functional groups. So those are the advantages of these nanomaterials. In pharmaceutics, I thought let me talk a little about pharmaceutics because that's where most of our research are based in pharmaceutics, where we use this nanomaterial basically for delivering drugs. So one of the advantages about the nanomaterials is that it allows us to sort of like deliver drugs, those that are hydrophobic, which means they're not actually soluble at all in water. So we are able to engineer using those nanomaterials. And also they play a role in terms of protecting our drugs, particularly in a harsh environment. You know, like in our stomach, there's acid, in our bloodstreams, the enzymes. So when we're engineering nanomaterials, we're making them to protect the drugs so that they can able to reach where it's supposed to go, and then control release or prolong release. So this is another advantage of nanomaterials is that in pharmacy, instead of like having like a daily dosage where you normally have drugs every single day, nanomaterials allowing us to bypass those kind of daily dosage. Instead of like having drugs every day, you are likely to see in the future to have drugs where you can just get one dose of drugs or one tablets and then you drink it once for a year and you don't have to drink for anymore. Particularly for disease like a TB, which require you to go for almost like 3 to 6 months. 6 to 9 months, where people are failing to comply because of daily dosage. So these are some of the things that can play a role in terms of benefit on those areas. Another thing that I also like a lot about nanomaterials is like with the tiny nanoparticles, which are smaller than 100 nanometer, you are able to encapsulate so many drugs in one. You can encapsulate up to 4 to 5, depending on which material you're using. You can do combination therapy, which means you can combine drugs that are hydrophilic, drugs that are hydrophobic, lipophilic drugs within the structure of nanomaterials. Already indicated, you can also combine, these are other exciting things about the nanomaterials is that we can combine in both therapy and diagnostic in the same time. Instead of you going to first get tested, you can be testing in the same, treating in the same time. We saw this during the times of COVID where you have to be isolated from after diagnostic. You're waiting for a result. You don't even know whether you've got COVID or not because you've got symptoms. So with this kind of technology, we are able to engineer something that we're able to diagnose in the same time treating. So you don't have to wait and also the advantage also, it can diagnose in the real times, which means you just inject yourself with injections or drug and you're able to see if you've got a disease or not in real times and able to treat while you're still while you are busy testing. Another advantage is very, very important. Actually, this is one of the key advantage of nanomaterials. It's able to bypassing challenges. With a brain tumor, they have to do surgical. It costs millions and millions of money. It can cost up to 4 million for you to just do the surgical operations. So with nanomaterials, you're likely to designing those tiny particles that were able to deliver a drug to bypassing the biological barriers like the blood-brain barriers and many others. So yeah, we've seen a lot of success, particularly in cancers. So many drugs that are commercially available now, they are actually made out of nanomaterials. As unfortunately, I could have shown everything, but because of time, I just thought let me indicate anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. So another advantage that I indicated, which is very important, is that in nanotechnology, it gives us the benefit instead of just consuming drugs, hoping one of the drugs will go to we're supposed to treat the disease. We're able now to engineer medicine with a specific direction where it's supposed to go, which means called target delivery. So this is some of the things that's very beneficial for nanomaterials, because normally in olden days, or they still do it in some of the situations whereby they give you 3 tablets for headache, 3 tablets for vomit. And when you come from hospital, you come with a big pack of medication as like you're from grocery or something like that. So, so with this kind of engineering of medicine, we are likely to bypass those kind of challenges. Genetic materials, we've seen a very good success recently with genetic material. All of us who can agree, we have seen the success of COVID-19 using Pfizer and Moderna. So those were the success of that. Without actually, there's a very good article talking about without nanomaterials, there wouldn't be a success of COVID, particularly with Moderna and Pfizer. So we've seen a lot of success on that areas. We've also seen some success of gene therapy. For many years, these things have been done for years, but the success of nanomaterials had opened a lot of opportunity. And also, we are seeing other trending in area of administration in terms of injection because of this kind of resistance and challenges. You can be able to take a nasal dosing, administration, transdermal. You can also do ocular, so which means you can deliver drugs via your eye instead of you just taking medication via your normal injection or oral. You can just put a dose on your eye and they can able to deliver your drug to the place where it's supposed to go. So this is some of the benefit in pharmaceutics. When it comes to the issue of how the approach of nanomaterials show how we engineer nanomaterials, there's two basic approach. You can do top-down approach where we have got bulk and then you crush into small pieces and you're able to have nanomaterials. Or you can start with atoms, atomic to cluster to nanomaterial. This is exactly what we do in our group. We normally do start with atoms and then we build into a cluster and into nanomaterial. We call it bottom-up approach. If you are interested to joining us, our group, this is the area where we want to be in uppercut. We normally formulate our nanomaterial using this kind of device or approach where we're doing, for those who are interested on liposomes, we normally do thin line hydration or extrusions, and also working with microfluidic lab on chip. This is a new kind of technology where you are able to formulate something precise with reproducible, particularly for commercial purposes. You don't want to always have a different batch which are completely different from the previous one. So with a microfluidic, it's more automated, which means you can program on the computer and able to produce or more or less the same kind of product with the same batch all the time, instead of like have different batches. So this is something which most of commercial company, they are more interested on the areas. We are also interested on the buying this 3D bioprinter where we want to work towards our nanocomposite and also tissue engineering. And also, we are also interested on a green nanotechnology. For the sake of one of the reasons of green nanotechnology is because of the impacts that some of these materials have got in the environment and the cost. You know, sometimes it's easy to just say nanomaterials is benefit, but the cost is also very important. So with green technology, it's allowing us to use the normal plants. We just do extracting like phytochemicals or active compounds, and we synthesize them quite easily. Sometimes we just use water. We don't have to use a lot of toxic chemicals or expensive chemicals as such, and it's environmental friendly because you're just using water and plant extract to synthesize these materials. Together with an Innoventon, we actually trying to use the very exciting approach where instead of like synthesizing yourself, you use microorganisms. So you just feed microorganisms with the metals, and this microorganism will produce for you nanoparticles. So they will synthesize for you. So you can use bacteria, you can use virus, you can use fungus and microalgae to do this kind of thing, which is quite exciting. Instead of seeing microorganisms as dangerous to society, some of the microorganisms, we can use them for our benefits, such as to manufacture ourselves nanomaterials. Just to give a little bit of what we as a group focusing on, our group is focusing on these areas where we are in terms of pharmaceutical products and and the blood transfusion, sensors, purification technology, tissue engineering, and the pharmaceutical contaminant. I'm going to give them a detail in the next slides. Our main focus in pharmaceutical, we are more into cancer. We're interested in different type of cancers. This is just some of those that we are now actually focusing on them. We're working on the colon cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancers. Knowing that the current therapy which is available, it does have some kind of like little bit of a not good side effect. They are toxic, some of them, or they are very the method of treatment is not easy. Like example, surgical removal. So those kind of things. We see a lot of people who are doing breast cancer. They remove the tumor, but later the tumor recur because of the technology, which is not effective because it leaves when they do surgical removal, they leave some of cell behind, and then they recur, and then they come back, and then normally people die because of that. So our aim is to use nanomaterial as a key, like already indicated. We're gonna using one of the advantage I indicated that with nanomaterials, we can engineer medicine that go directly to where there's a problems. With this issue of size also, the size allowed them to bypass many other challenges. So they can able to maneuver around the tumor comparing to this other medication, which they're bigger, they cannot able to go through the tumor. So our nanomaterials can able to also achieve those kind of benefits. Some of our PhD students, some of them they're here. They're actually working on that. I didn't really give detail because of the time. So most of our students for PhD, they're working on a green synthetic nanoparticles, where we are actually working on a gold, silver, diamond, copper. So this is quite exciting things to see that such materials like gold, diamond, copper making such kind of impact in medicine. So our area, our group actually focusing much on that to try to see whether if South Africans rich with minerals, perhaps maybe we should use this mineral for the sake of our benefit for creating a new type of medicines such as gold, copper, silver nanoparticles, and many others. Some of our students and PhD students actually are working on nanosensor and quantum dot for diagnostic for cervical cancer. One of our also PhD in pharmacy, she's also working on using these vaginal mucoadhesion systems, whereby you can able to deliver your drugs through using a vaginal pathway. And also, yeah. Like I indicated, one of the other area where we see the gap in the country, we know our country is dominant with people who are living with HIV. So usually the issue of donation of blood has become a big issue. Also because of COVID, people remember the few years, it was very difficult to get a blood. So we thought like this could be actually, this project initially when it started, I was actually approached by the CEO of South African National Blood Service. They wanted us to design something for them because they feel like there's a big need here because people don't want to donate. And also even when people donate, the blood that people donate doesn't last for a very long time. So as a result, they wanted us to come with an intervention to find a solution towards this challenge. So our group, we're actually already starting to work on this. One of my colleagues, which is senior researcher, he already achieved a little bit of some of data to show that we can able to incorporate this hemoglobin-based oxygen and incorporate them into nanomaterials as delivery. The benefit is that this kind of blood, it comes with many other benefits. It's become universal. You don't have to need your blood group. You can also actually play a role in terms of you don't need to store in a fridge. You can leave it in room temperature for almost 3 years. So for those who are in a rural area, this will be actually a big key and play big benefits. Actually, the South African National Blood Service, they've indicated there's a special patients who really need this blood. So we actually are working together with them to see whether if we finish the project and do some clinical trials in partnership with them in the later stage. One of our masters in pharmacy, she's actually working on the same kind of concept, but because she's a pharmacist, we said, no, you can't just design in the blood. As a pharmacist, maybe just put also a drug there. So she's actually incorporating both the drug and also the hemoglobin to able to treat some condition like cancer association anemia. We know a lot of patients who are going through the chemotherapy, they suffer a lot with of production for oxygen. So as a result, we're combining the hemoglobin and some of the chemotherapy to able to kill one bird with one stone. Also diabetic foot ulcer, we actually have realizing that what we are actually designing for oxygen purposes, we can also be using it to deliver it through the wound, particularly for those patients that are suffering with a diabetic foot ulcer. So We're also trying one of our PhD students in pharmacy. Actually, she's actually working on a thorough diagnostics, which means instead of just giving people a tropical applications, you can able now to first diagnose and identify what are the pathogens. Because one of the reasons why we see the resistance into antimicrobial resistance is because most people, they just get tropical application, get medication to apply on your wound, but without knowing what are you treating. Because normally in these kind of chronic wounds, there is a lot of creation of biofilm, which means it's no longer just a bacteria, sometimes bacteria, fungi, and parasites. So we feel like we need to create something that are able to detect and tell us whether this is there's a fungus, there's a bacteria, because what happened, most people get antimicrobial, antibacterial kind of treatment where you're killing bacteria, but you're making the environment very fertile for fungus, and ended like people legs and all this kind of stuff. So we are also doing a green synthesis also to try to see whether if we can overcome using that approach. Another project which is very, very close to my heart is the issue of designing this kind of artificial, not air purification technology, robotic. I mean, I want to say robotic. We believe that we can create robotic when we create a robot that will clean the environment. We all know that robot is coming into a big, getting a lot of attention. So we feel like we want to be part and parcel of the designing those kind of things. One of our master students, environmental health, she's actually working on trying to do piloting study just to try to look at the normal bacteria and able to see whether if you can create a filter using the normal mask, the mask that people are using for protection. We want to use the mask as a filter, as a filter, as a way forward for us to reach our ultimate goal of creating a robot. So yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, another area which is very close to ourselves, our heart as such, our group, is that one of the biggest challenges we see also in Nelson Mandela is that we have got a big struggle when it comes to testing the preclinical studies, testing our product, whether this effective enough, whether this will suitable for humans or not. We don't have an animal facility. So we feel like it is very important for us indeed to also embarking on the area of tissue engineering, which means instead of ourselves wasting time to use animals for research, we're going to engineer any type of tissue we want, together with our collaborator in Rhodes University, the colleagues from Germany, colleagues from Sweden. We're actually seeing this possibility will happen because our colleagues from Germany, they already have all these kind of tissues. Colleagues from Rhodes University, they already have a BioX, which is a 3D printer that can allow us to print any tissue we want. So we are hoping to also engage, reaching that part where we focus on those areas of tissue engineering. And also together with there's another recent kind of collaboration with the UJ, chemical engineering at UJ, which already published a review paper to show that one of the biggest problems that we also have, we have a lot of pharmaceutical contaminant in our water environment. There's a lot of recently that people are identifying, they're detecting this into our water system. So as a result, we are trying to find a way to create a sensor that will diagnose and also try to find a remedy that will able to play a role in terms of treatment of these contaminants. These are some of our students. There are many of them. I just show this one because if Terry was still here, he would be proud for us. So we have those NRF students that are successful, get our NRF for their masters and PhDs. So if you want to join our group, so far we have got many other students coming from different departments. We've got a student from pharmacy, environmental health, medical laboratory sciences, physiology, and chemistry. So if you really want to join our group, feel free to contact me. And this is our group. Yeah, this is our group. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. I don't know if there are any questions for Dr. Mufamade. I wanted to see if there's anybody on the group. So, Prof. Paula?
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you very much, Dr. Mufamade, for that awesome presentation. I always love listening to nanomedicine and nanotechnology presentations. And I just wanted to maybe probably make it something that could excite you to, in the future, see also if we can go into diagnostics for some NTDs. I'm very much passionate about neglected tropical diseases. And I know that recently, with a partner in chemistry, we've tried to see how we could use gold nanoparticles to identify the various phases of the disease, schistosomiasis, in water body. Because at times the diagnosis is really quite difficult, especially in low income resource settings. So if we can also capture that aspect, it will really be awesome. But it's great work you're doing, you and your team, and all the very best in the outcomes.
I'm just looking to see if there's any more. Yeah, I think I also wanted to emphasize the fact that the Dr. Mufamadi's studies just illustrates the whole interprofessional concept of research and how research generally is moving in towards an interprofessional direction, and coming from the sciences primarily, but where the sciences and the health sciences integrate or overlap. It's very, very exciting. I think it's taking health sciences to another level. And we are very fortunate to have Dr. Mufamadi at NMU, because he's bringing something which I don't think we've ever even looked at before. So I think we're very grateful that you are here and putting us on the map as far as nanotechnology is concerned. I hope you stay along. But it's very exciting also seeing all your students here. Obviously, they're going to also make an impact on health through their research. So that's also very exciting. If you can spread the word about Dr. Mufamadi through your own student networks and everybody online as well, please do so. It's very, very exciting research, and well, pretty much anything's possible with nanotechnology. Thank you. I don't know if you want to add one last comment. You could. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking time to join us and to share. Thank you. So we've reached the end of our day. I want to actually hand over to Prof. Paula to tie things up for us. So, Prof. Paula.
Please put our hands together for our EVO chair. I saw during the sessions when we seem to have forgotten to clap, especially for the online presenters, he would do like this. So can we please clap for him for all the good things he has done today? Thank you so much, Dave. We really appreciate it. It's really been an awesome time. I know the information might look like it is so much, but it's to show you that we actually don't want you to make the mistakes before you learn it. And I'm glad you're here. Okay, and I'm glad that you're passionate about what you have started doing, and we're happy that you are here. So please note that we are all available to assist you, and feel free to knock at the door. If you can remember anyone's name or email, if you email, even if the person is not in the position to help you, the person will direct you to the right person that will be able to assist you. Okay, please do not hesitate to ask. Ask. Researchers are very curious. They don't keep quiet. Ask. And one thing I want to also encourage all of us, not only the nano groups, tomorrow when you guys come, the nano must not stay together. You must just mix up, learn from, because if you just stay with those that are in the same unit with you, at the end of the day, you go back, you're together. But if you mix up with psychology, pharmacy, integrate. Okay, during lunch, don't stay with your friends. What I mean by friend, we're all friends, but don't stay with someone that you already know. I am sure that those online also will be collaborating in a way. So please, let's just make this work. Tomorrow is really, it looks promising with exciting and practical application of your proposal. I remember asking in the morning, how many of you know about the research application, and it seems up to 80% do not know how it looks. Tomorrow, we are going to stepwisely go through the procedures. I promise you, if you are here and in spirit and the person not just being here physically and your mind is somewhere else, you will sail through your proposal phase without any stress. Because there are things that you need to just know, And if you don't know it, you don't know it. So please be here and on time. The record chair will also be here. Ask questions. Please, may I ask that Tim Betlin or Tembeka, please, if you could email that record form to them just to have a look at what it is, so that when it's shared tomorrow on the screen, they will be able to already have an idea. But the link is in our website, is also in the university page, okay, for you to access it. But please just open it and you will see that it's not that difficult. And there are other things also that we have outlined for tomorrow. So tomorrow is very packed with what you need to finalize that proposal. And one more advice I want to please give us. Whatever discipline or project that you are doing, I've seen that it actually helps. Do an intensive literature review on that. If it's possible, I crave the indulgence of the supervisors that are here, maybe in absentia, you can actually do a systematic review of an objective of that topic. Especially some of you in nanomedicine may not even have done it in your first degree. By doing a literature review, a thorough literature review on that, you will understand it more and your objectives will be clearer and you'll be able to defend it. So please try it, you will see that it works. And also, if you do a systematic review of that particular topic, as guided by your supervisor or promoter, you can actually publish it in Prospero. And you will see that already before you even submit. You can imagine when you're submitting to FPGSC, before Dave sees it, he's already seeing that, oh, wow, this has already been accepted by Prospero, and you can actually publish it. So please do that, it helps. My PhD student is currently doing that here. She's already submitted to Prospero, is published there, and it excited her seeing that process. But apart from the excitement, you are now more confident in the work you are doing. Wish you all the very best. Thanks for being here today. And we enjoy staying with you. Hope to see you again tomorrow, and all the very best this evening. Thank you.